I just watched this week's episode of Smackdown. Some of it was absolute cringe, but some really made me change my mind about some matches for WrestleMania. Let's rank each segment W, mid, or L. Rhea Rhipley came to the ring and cut a promo directed at WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill. This was set up by Base's attack on Raw, where Jade had jumped Io Sky. Rhea also had Mitchen and B-Fab involved in the backstage chaos, with B-Fab getting attacked. Then in the main event, Io Sky faced Jade Cargill in a 9-title match. Jade won clean. After the bell, Jade tried to attack Io Sky with a steel chair. Rhea ran in and stopped it, and that's how the show ended. First, we also go back to late February. Rhea Ripley won the Women's Elimination Chamber. That made her the #1 contender for Jade's title at WrestleMania 42. Simple enough, right? But then things got messy fast. Before Rhea even showed up on SmackDown and started the feud on TV, Jade went on social media and accused Rhea of spending hours talking to WWE Creative to get a WrestleMania spot. That broke kayfabe. That broke the fourth wall. Rhea responded on Instagram and said she was not having fun and that the two were not friends. She then deleted the post. Other wrestlers like Piper Niven, Chelsea Green, and even Nia Jax jumped in to take shots at Jade. Reports from the FIFO Selects and PW Insider said multiple people backstage were adamant this was real, not a storyline. There was allegedly genuine tension in the locker room. Some wrestlers reportedly felt that Jade had a habit of rubbing people the wrong way. There was even whispers that the previous injury absence may have covered for personal issues. WWE reportedly had no major heat over the situation, but management was expected to speak with Jade at her locker room. Then the face-to-face promo on SmackDown on March 6th was a disaster. Fans expected fire. What they got was slow, scripted, and awkward. Jade shook Rhea's hand and said she respected her physique. Rhea said her body was built to wrestle. That was it. The crowd did not know how to react. By April 10, WWE was throwing Io Sky, Mitchen, and B-Fab into the middle of this, and it gave it some energy. But none of these additions were even explained. They just appeared as pieces of a story that never had a foundation to begin with. But before I give you my actual opinion, let me make a case for this segment and say maybe it was good. Think about what WWE is trying to do here. Jade needed to look dominant heading into WrestleMania. Having a beat Io Sky, one of the best wrestlers in the roster, that's exactly that. Io's not a jobber. A clean win over her means something. Jade looked like a monster. This was heat building. Rhea making the save gave the fans something to cheer. It protected Io, gave Rhea a heroic moment right before the biggest show of the year. Some people will call this a smart TV. B-Fab getting attacked adds stakes to the Jade side of things. It shows Jade's crew is not safe either. It is basically storytelling. Hate the other side's people, they hate yours. And look, not every match build needs a deep personal story. Sometimes two big impressive athletes staring at each other is enough. Some people will argue Rhea and Jade are both better in the ring than on the mic. So maybe keeping the promo short and letting the physicality do the talking was a smarter play here. That's the best case. Now let's be real. None of the defense holds up when you look at the full picture. The reason the segment felt hollow is because the whole feud has been hollow. This was not a clean build that got complicated. There was a feud that never had real tension baked into it from day one, and WWE never figured out how to use it properly. They tried to thread the needle that was not there. Bringing in Io Sky, Mitchen, and B-Fab without explanation is his filler. It's his noise. There are real people being used as chess pieces, and the rules of the board were never explained to the audience. Who is on whose side? Why? Why did Mitchen and B-Fab somehow become Jade's crew? It was never built. It just appeared. The promo itself did not help. Rhea is not a talker. Jade is not a talker. And instead of hiding that with something physical or intense, WWE gave them words to say that cameras could stare. The delivery was flat. The crowd was confused. What makes this worse is that going into WrestleMania, you should feel something. You should want someone to win or lose. Right now, most fans already know that Jade is probably going to win the belt. But there's nothing to make you care about it. Knowing the outcome and feeling it are two different things. For me, this segment was an L. Next, Royce Keys made his in-ring debut on the main roster. His opponent was Berto, one half of the tag team Los Garza. Keys dominated from the start. He hit the big clothesline early and followed up with a power slam. Berto rode outside and regrouped with his partner Angel, who tried to distract Keys at ringside. Berto used that opening to send Keys face first into the ring post, and it did not last. A running power slam, a splash in the corner, and finished Berto with a spine buster. This match lasted under 3 minutes. So that's his debut to go back 2.5 months ago. Before Royce Keys even existed, that was Powerhouse Hobbs. He spent nearly 6 years in AEW. He won the TNT Championship. He held the World Trios title with Samoa Joe and Shibata as part of the Ops. He was one of the most physically impressive guys on that roster. His AEW contract expired on January 15. The Ops dropped his Trios titles. Hobbs took the pin on the way out. A week later, WWE had already filed the trademark for the name Royce Keys. Reports confirmed that the signing was almost immediately. The name Royce is actually the name of his son. Dave Meltzer noted that AEW had reportedly offered him a deal in the range of what Seth Rollins was making around 4 years ago. A big number, but WWE matched and beat it. The decision was made. He showed up at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. He entered at number 14. He was eliminated by Bronson Reed. That was it. That was the last time anyone saw him on TV for over 2 months. They also started running backstage video packages, his hometown, his upbringing in East Palo Alto, his grandparents, his story, weeks and weeks of these packages. The idea was clearly to get the audience familiar with who he is as a person before they ever threw him a punch on TV. Then WrestleMania week arrived, 1 week before the biggest show of the year, and this is where WWE finally put him on screen. Think about what WWE is trying to do. They signed a guy most casual fans have never seen before. He has a new name, he looks like a tank, he hits hard, but the audience doesn't know him. So what do? You build sympathy first. You give people the reason to care before the first punch is thrown. The backstage package is about his hometown, his parents, his upbringing. That is a classic WWE character work. It is the same approach they use on Sami Zayn for years. Give someone a real story, make them human before making him a monster. The debut match itself did his job. He was never in real danger. Smart booking for a debut. Then after the match, they gave him a moment with Solo Sikoa. Solo came up to him and basically laid down a future story in 3 sentences. Doors open. If you need anything, there's a seed. Some people watching that scene saw a future feud right there. But here's where I have a little bit of a problem. The backstage packages are not bad. That is not the real problem. The problem is that they added up to it. Weeks of videos about his grandma's house and the neighborhood. Then he shows up 1 week before WrestleMania to squash tag team wrestler in 3 minutes on a show where nobody is paying attention to debuts. Nobody is watching the week before WrestleMania to get introduced to someone new. They are watching to see the final build to the matches that already exist. WWE spent all this time making Royce a sympathetic figure, a guy from the rough city who had love in his house, a guy who made it. That's a real and compelling story. But sympathy is not the same as a threat. Right now, nobody knows if it's supposed to be scary or just likable. Both can work, but you have to pick one to lean into. WWE did not do that. The number of appearances should have been a beginning of a weekly appearance. Instead, it was flashy, then silence, then video packages, then squash. That's not a build, that's a reset with extra steps. The Solo Sikoa moment was the most interesting thing about the whole segment. And even that is just a hint, a possibility, not a plan. Royce is everything in sex to be something real in WWE. The debut did not prove that. It's just mid. Next, Pat McAfee returned with what he called a massive surprise. He came to the ring and cut a promo responding to both CM Punk and the fan backlash from the week before. He called out Punk by name, addressed the ticket price complaints directly, and announced a 25% discount on WrestleMania Saturday tickets, valid until the end of Raw on Monday. He also added that if Randy Orton does not win the title at WrestleMania, McAfee will leave the wrestling business forever. Cody came out to respond. McAfee brought up Stardust, AEW, and Triple H. Backstage, Randy Orton had laid out Jelly Roll, but he and Orton beat out Cody to close the show. McAfee then drove off with the WWE title belt. Most of you know, but I'm going to talk about it again. You need to know how Pat McAfee got here, because it was not Triple H's idea, it was the creative team's idea. He came from the very top. CEO Group Ari Manuel is Pat McAfee's actual real-life agent. He is also the boss of the company that owns WWE. Reports from PWA Insider and Body Slam confirmed Manuel personally pushed for McAfee to be inserted into the Orton and Rose WrestleMania story. Thinking was simple. McAfee has a massive platform on ESPN. Putting him in the feud gives WWE a promotional angle on a mainstream sports network. Emmanuel reportedly believes McAfee can be a crossover star across media. This was a business call, not a creative one. McAfee initially turned the role down. WWE scrambled to find someone else. Then McAfee agreed. And on April 3rd, he was revealed as a mystery person who had been calling Randy Orton. The crowd reaction was dead. The promo afterwards did not help. Reports noted it was largely off scripts and unplanned. Cody Rhodes was asked to shoot from the hip by creative after the cold response. Multiple wrestlers backstage expressed frustration. CM Punk opened Raw the following Monday and dropped what many called the pipe bomb, calling McAfee a fraud and demanding lower ticket prices. One person within the WWE called McAfee's insertion the single most counterproductive thing the company had done in a long time. Then McAfee spent the week on social media and his show going further into the chapter. He teased a massive surprise for April 10th. He kept the heat building. By Friday, people were actually curious again. This is the context walking through the segment. The problem is the foundation underneath it. McAfee was put in the story for business reasons. He had nothing to do with storytelling. Ari Manuel wanted ESPN synergy and more WrestleMania eyeballs. That is not a wrestling decision. That is a corporate one. And no matter how sharp the promo of 1 week before the show, you cannot unring that bell. The Cody and Rhea story was already complete. 2 men with decades of history, a 20-year-long arc across different companies. Adding McAfee did not raise the stakes. It changed the channel. Now instead of talking about what Orton and Rose mean to each other, we're talking about ticket prices and ESPN deals and whether Pat is a character or not. Prank said it best on Raw. You do not bring someone in to tell people the product is worth watching 1 week before the biggest show of the year. Even if it's working, Even if it's raising buzz, the buzz is about the wrong thing. And Cody has been put in the position of carrying a story he did not ask for and was reportedly never even briefed on properly. This is not fair for him, and it shows in the cracks. Maybe one good promo does not save any of this. The question for me is not whether the foundation of the story is perfect. It's clearly not. The Mcafee insertion was messy from the start, and everyone in the locker room knew it. But the question was to ask yourself about this Smackdown. Did the segment do what it needed to do? And the answer for me is yes. Mcafee went back with a sharper material. He actually addressed the Punk promo point by point. He called Punk a fraud, wouldn't officially license merch while comparing ticket prices. This is clean, fluffy, and accurate jab. He addressed the backlash head instead of running from it. He announced 25 discounts and made it feel like a win for the fans while framing it as his own doing. It is smart heel work. He added a stipulation that he is gone from wrestling if Austin loses. Now there are real stakes attached to this character. Cody kept doing exactly what Cody does, warm, real, and connecting with the crowd. His line about the fans being family and not marks was a kind of moment that reminds you why he's a champion. The beatdown with Jade laid out and Mcafee stay with the belts. That is a Heat closing segment. It worked. Is the story perfectly built? No, but the episode moved the needle. That for me is a W. Lastly, US Champion Sami Zayn comes to the ring and addressed the crowd booing him. He said he only cares about the people who were there from the beginning. He said it will never change. Trick Williams then came out with Liliari and interrupted. Trick said the crowd was tired of hearing Sami talk. Called him a guy who whines and can't get the job done. They went back and forth before Trick's match against Matt Cardona was set up. During that match, Sami went from ringside. Yari tripped Sami off the apron. Sami responded with a hell of a kick directly to Yari's face. Trick won the match anyway with a trick shot. Small recap, Sami Zayn did not wrestle in the match. League Aldis told him straight to his face that there was nothing booked for him. Meanwhile, Trick Williams was beat handed a guaranteed spot. Williams even mocked Zayn about it. He punched Williams and then marched down to answer Carmelo Hayes' open US title challenge. Trick tried to interfere and accidentally hit Hayes with an object. Sami hit the over kick and stole the title. That moment was key. Sami did not win clean. He won because of someone else's mistake. The crowd noticed. The guy they had loved for years suddenly had a belt he grabbed in a messy way. It did not seem apologetic at all. Sami returned the title against Hayes in a rematch. Hayes had tweaked his knee during the match and was visibly hurt. Sami took advantage of the distraction and hit an overkick, while the referee was checking on Hayes. Clean, barely, ruthless. Absolutely. Yari announced a WrestleMania match. Context on Carmelo Hayes. He had held the US title for 98 days. Successful defenses against guys like Ilya Dragunov, Leo Slater, and Shinsuke Nakamura. His reign ended not because Trick beat him, but because Sami soaped in sideways. Trick himself even went on a radio show and said Hayes deserved a WrestleMania moment. There was a real fan frustration over Mano being cut out of the picture. And that amount of frustration sees Sami Zayn getting booed, leaning into it, and starting to look even more of a villain every single week. WWE is getting credit for something that might just be an accident. Sami is getting pulled because they are frustrated the Carmelo got screwed. That is not the same as Sami being a complete heel. That is fans reacting to a situation they do not like. There's a difference. Sami has spent years being one of the most beloved people in WWE. His whole character has been on being an underdog that everyone roots for. The crowd did not suddenly learn to hate him. They are confused. There's a real difference between a satisfying heel turn and a crowd that simply does not know what reaction WWE wants from him. Trick Williams is also a problem here. He's charming, he dresses well, he talks like a star, and the crowd generally likes him. But he's been positioned as a face in a feud where nothing he does actually makes the audience want to boo Sami. Carmelo is sitting in a trainer's room on screen, rehabbing his knee and watching someone else fight for his title. That is a sad image. If anything, it pulls sympathy away from the feud entirely and redirects it to somewhere WWE cannot use it right now. Maybe this is not a hit machine. Maybe this is just messy. But here's why I think all of us are missing. The messiness is actually doing the work. Sami has not made one clean decision in 3 weeks. He punched the guy in the back when he was not looking. He retained the title because the referee was checking on an injured opponent. The promo before this was Sami telling the crowd he does not need them. He only cares about the people who were there from the start. The line is doing real work. The kind of thing that can be played in both ways. Behind the sea of balls, it sounds like a man closing a door on everyone who does not agree with him. WWE may not have planned this perfectly, but Sami is performing it perfectly. And here's the thing about Carmelo Hayes being removed from the picture. You are right that it's sad, but the reason WWE can see Trick as a face here is specifically because of the Hayes situation. Trick stepping aside so Melo could challenge was a general sting. The crowd remembers that. The story has real texture heading into WrestleMania. And that for me is a W.